if March 2023 will long be remembered in history books, but on some level, it should be. After 6 bank failures, conversations quickly turned to memories of 2008. Monies moved from small banks to banks too big to fail, and the claim was made, here comes the recession. Yet it didn't. Troubled banks surprisingly were saved through FDIC, the Fed's new bank term funding program, or other banks stepping in. The markets quieted as quickly as they erupted. No recession, at least not yet. The Consumer Price Index, the CPI, this month turned up slightly, with food prices still on the rise, increasing 9.5% and shelter up 8.1% year over year. Even the 7.9% decline in fuel oil prices and eggs tumbling 6.7% month over month couldn't help offset other increases. And CPI increased 0.4%. The markets did not like this. A week later, Fed Chair Powell and his band of Fed members had to take a stand. 50 bips? Inflation needs to be tamed as we are far, far away from the Fed's 2% target. No change? 6 banks just collapsed. The financial markets can't handle higher for longer, faster. Or do they go with 25 bips, showing they still mean business, but not so harshly? 25 it is, middle of the road. But it didn't stop there. Chairman Powell's comments afterwards is what the markets were listening to that led to the kind of internal celebration after running a marathon. You know, that happy dance on the inside? Powell came out saying that the U.S. banking system is sound and resilient, that recent developments are likely to result in tighter credit conditions for households and businesses and to weigh on economic activity, hiring, and inflation. The extent of these effects is uncertain, meaning, let's wait and see. Will banking contract spending through tighter lending standards? The post-meeting statement also dropped the phrase used after the recent meetings, namely that the FOMC anticipated ongoing increases in rates that would be appropriate, now signaling that the Fed might consider ending rate increases sooner rather than later. The markets celebrated tenderly. Later in the month, the Personal Consumption Expenditures Index, the PCE, was released. The PCE is the Fed's preferred measure of inflation and measures slightly different data than the CPI. Whereas CPI measures urban consumer spending, the PCE measures urban and rural, as well as what third parties pay. The PCE came in under forecasts, with the headline dropping from 5.3 to 5%, and the core came down from 4.7 to 4.6 year over year. Incomes were up 0.3% month over month, and spending was up 0.2%. Savings up 0.5%. Way to go, savers. The markets liked this. Yet, people continue to spend. According to Goldman Sachs, as of mid-January, Americans have spent down 35% of the extra savings accumulated during the pandemic. By the end of 2023, Goldman Sachs forecasts Americans will have exhausted roughly 65% of that money. The majority of dollars are being spent on services, not goods, except cars and homes. Automobile sales are up 9.3% year over year. But overall, S&P U.S. manufacturing PMI is down for the 5th straight month after a 28-month heyday. You know the one, when people couldn't go out, so they stayed in buying 5 TVs and a new washer and dryer all delivered. Services PMI, however, rose to 53.8 in March from 50.6 in January, easily beating market expectations and the fastest rise since April 2022. This continued spending will put ongoing pressure on inflation. Higher inflation is keeping the Fed vigilant on their singular mandate and keeping our mortgage rates higher. Homebuyers are also spending and have seemed to acclimate to higher mortgage rates. There is an element of seasonality in our numbers this month. There's also a strong desire to move on and move in. Even with rates almost 2% higher than they were a year ago, buyers are spending their funds on the right house. Gotta be the right house though, as homes which sold without a price reduction are selling 2.25 times faster than homes that came on the market priced too high. Buyers will spend more money on that house too, pushing close to list for March up a full 1% from 98.9 to 99.8. The increased close to list is keeping home prices overall flat to slightly positive. March pending home sales climbed 22% and closed homes jumped 32% month over month. Some sellers took advantage of a hungry buyer appetite by putting 5,093 more homes on the market. That's up 47% from January. Not all could-be sellers are listing their homes though. Goldman Sachs reported that 99% of all mortgages are locked in below 6%. 72% of them below 4%. Almost 40% of all homeowners don't even have a mortgage. But the sellers who do and take the time to price and stage their homes right will be rewarded by buyers who simply want to buy a home and are willing to spend some of that excess savings to get it. With an exciting March in the history books, what we saw in real estate was mostly a seasonal pickup in demand, where buyers' biggest driver was to buy the house, move in, and move on. Until next time, this is Nicole Rueth with the Rueth team. It's my pleasure to keep you updated.